Long ago in a quiet village lived a girl named Leela. Leela wasn't known for being strong or fast or even very smart. People saw her as ordinary, maybe even a little clumsy. She often tripped over things and sometimes said the wrong thing at the wrong time. But Leela had a secret dream, a dream that felt too big, too impossible to even whisper to anyone. She wanted to climb Mount Cinder, the tallest mountain in the land. Mount Cinder wasn't just tall, it was dangerous. Its rocky slopes were steep, its winds were fierce, and stories whispered of strange creatures living near its peak. No one from Leela's village had ever tried to climb it, and most thought it was a foolish idea even to consider. One day an old traveler came to Leela's village. He was a small man with kind eyes and a long white beard. He carried a wooden staff and wore a cloak patched with different colors. The children of the village gathered around him, eager to hear his stories. Leela stood at the back, shy as always. She listened as the traveler told tales of faraway lands, of brave knights and magical creatures. But what caught her attention was when he spoke about mountains. He described mountains as places of great beauty and challenges where people could discover their own strength. After the traveler finished his stories, Leela found the courage to approach him. Her heart thumped in her chest as she spoke. "Sir," she said quietly, "have you ever climbed Mount Cinder?" The traveler smiled. "I have," he said, "many years ago. It was the hardest thing I have ever done." Leela's eyes widened. Do you think someone like me could climb it?" The traveler looked at Leela carefully. He saw her small frame, her hesitant gaze, but he also saw something else, a spark of determination in her eyes. "Anyone can climb Mount Cinder," he said, "but it takes more than just strength. It takes patience, courage, and most of all, wisdom." Leela didn't understand what he meant by wisdom. She thought climbing a mountain only needed strong muscles and maybe some good shoes. The traveler chuckled as if reading her thoughts. "Wisdom is knowing how to use your strength," he said. "It's knowing when to rest, when to keep going, and when to ask for help. It's about understanding yourself and the mountain." Leela wanted to learn this wisdom. "Can you teach me?" she asked. The traveler nodded. "I can guide you, but you must be willing to learn." Climbing Mount Cinder is not just about reaching the top, it's about the journey and what you learn along the way. So Leela began her training. It wasn't what she expected. The traveler didn't have her lift heavy stones or run long distances. Instead, he taught her to observe, to listen, and to be patient. He took her to the forest and showed her how to read the signs of the animals, how to find water, and how to build a shelter. He taught her to listen to the wind and to feel the earth beneath her feet. He told her stories not just about brave heroes, but about ordinary people who had overcome challenges by using their minds and their hearts. He told her about a farmer who learned to predict the weather, a weaver who created beautiful tapestries, and a healer who knew the power of plants. Leela learned that wisdom wasn't just about knowing things, it was about understanding them and using them in a good way. She learned that even small acts of kindness and courage could make a big difference. One day, the traveler took Leela to a small hill near the village. "This is your first test," he said. "Climb to the top." Leela looked at the hill. It didn't seem very high, but the path was rocky and steep. She started to climb, but soon she felt tired and her legs began to ache. She wanted to give up. She remembered the traveler's words, "Wisdom is knowing when to rest." She stopped and took a deep breath. She looked around and saw the beauty of the valley below. She felt the warmth of the sun on her face. She realized that she wasn't just climbing a hill, she was experiencing the world around her. She continued to climb slowly and carefully. She found small handholds and footholds. She used her balance and her strength. Finally, she reached the top. She looked back at the village and felt a sense of accomplishment. She had done it. She had climbed the hill. The traveler smiled. "You have learned your first lesson," he said, "patience and perseverance." Leela continued to train with the traveler for many months. She learned about the different plants and animals that lived on Mount Cinder. She learned about the weather patterns and the dangers of the mountain. She learned how to pack her supplies, how to tie knots, and how to use a map. She also learned about herself. She discovered that she was stronger than she thought. She learned that she could face her fears and that she could overcome challenges. She learned that she was not just ordinary, she was capable of amazing things. Finally, the day came when the traveler said, "You are ready to climb Mount Cinder." Leela felt a mix of excitement and fear. She knew that the climb would be difficult and dangerous, but she also knew that she had prepared herself as best as she could. She packed her supplies and said goodbye to her family and friends. The whole village came to see her off. They wished her luck and told her to be careful. Leela started her climb early in the morning. The sun was just rising over the mountains. She took a deep breath and began to walk. The first part of the climb was easy. The path was well worn and the slope was gentle, but as she climbed higher, the path became steeper and rockier. The wind began to blow and the air became colder. Leela remembered the traveler's words, "Wisdom is knowing when to keep going." She pushed herself forward, taking one step at a time. She focused on her breathing and on her goal. She climbed for hours, stopping only to rest and to eat. She saw many beautiful things along the way, tall trees, colorful flowers, and strange rock formations. She also saw signs of danger, steep cliffs, loose rocks, and icy patches. She remembered the traveler's words, "Wisdom is knowing when to ask for help." She was careful to avoid the dangerous areas, and she used her rope to secure herself when necessary. As she climbed higher, she began to feel the effects of the altitude. She felt tired and dizzy. Her head ached. She remembered the traveler's words, "Wisdom is about understanding yourself." She knew that she needed to rest. She found a sheltered spot and set up her camp. She ate some food, drank some water, and went to sleep. The next morning she woke up feeling refreshed. She ate breakfast, packed up her camp, and continued her climb. The final part of the climb was the most difficult. The slope was very steep and the wind was very strong. The air was thin and cold. Leela felt like giving up. She was tired, sore, and scared. She wondered if she would ever reach the top. But then she remembered why she had started this climb in the first place. She remembered her dream, her desire to prove to herself that she could achieve the impossible. She remembered the traveler's words, "Wisdom is about the journey." She took a deep breath and kept going. She used all of her strength, all of her knowledge, and all of her courage. She climbed slowly and carefully, never giving up, never losing hope. Finally, after many hours, she reached the top. She stood on the summit of Mount Cinder. The view was amazing. She could see for miles in every direction. She felt a sense of joy and accomplishment that she had never felt before. She had done it. She had climbed Mount Cinder. She had achieved the impossible. She stayed on the summit for a long time, just looking at the view and feeling the wind in her hair. She thought about all that she had learned on her journey. She thought about the traveler and his wisdom. She thought about herself and her own strength. She realized that climbing Mount Cinder wasn't just about reaching the top, it was about discovering her own potential. It was about learning that she was capable of anything she set her mind to. She knew that she would never be the same. She had changed. She had grown. She had become wiser. She started her descent. The climb down was just as difficult as the climb up, but she was prepared. She used her knowledge and her skills to navigate the dangerous terrain. She made it back to her village safe and sound. The whole village celebrated her return. They cheered and clapped and showered her with flowers. Leela was a hero. She had proven that anything is possible if you have the courage, the patience, and the wisdom to pursue your dreams. But Leela knew that her journey wasn't over. She had climbed Mount Cinder, but there were still many other mountains to climb in her life. She was ready for them. She had unlocked her potential. She used her newfound wisdom to help others in her village. She taught them about the plants and animals of the mountains. She taught them how to read the weather and how to survive in the wilderness. She taught them how to be patient, how to be courageous, and how to believe in themselves. Leela became a leader in her village. She helped to solve problems and to make the village a better place. She inspired others to follow their dreams and to achieve the impossible. And so Leela lived a long and happy life. She was remembered as the girl who climbed Mount Cinder, but more importantly, she was remembered as the girl who showed everyone that they could unlock their own potential and achieve their own impossible dreams. Because the greatest wisdom is knowing that you already have everything you need inside of you. It just takes a little courage to find it, and a little patience to use it, and a lot of belief in yourself to make it work. Years passed and Leela's village thrived. They had food, shelter, and most importantly, hope. But Leela knew that her work was not yet done. There were other villages in the mountains, villages that struggled just as hers once had, villages that needed help and encouragement. So Leela decided to travel. She wanted to share her wisdom with others. She packed a bag with food, water, and a few simple tools. She said goodbye to her family and friends and set off on her journey. She walked for days through forests and across rivers. She climbed over rocks and hills. She met many people along the way. Some were kind and helpful, others were not so much. But Leela treated everyone with respect and kindness. She listened to their stories and offered them what help she could. One day she came to a village that was suffering from a terrible drought. The crops had failed, the animals were dying, and the people were hungry and desperate. They had tried everything they could think of, but nothing seemed to work. They had lost hope. Leela listened to their story and felt their pain. She knew that she had to help them. She remembered what the old woman had taught her about the plants and animals of the mountains. She remembered how to read the weather and how to find water. She spent days exploring the area, searching for clues. She looked for plants that could survive in dry conditions. She looked for signs of underground water sources. She studied the clouds and the wind, trying to predict when it might rain. Finally, she found what she was looking for. She discovered a hidden spring high up in the mountains. The spring was small, but it was enough to provide water for the village. She showed the villagers how to build a system of canals and pipes to bring the water down to their fields and homes. The villagers were overjoyed. They worked together to build the system, and soon the water was flowing. The crops began to grow again, the animals began to recover, and the people began to smile. Leela had saved their village, but Leela didn't stop there. She taught the villagers how to conserve water and how to use it wisely. She taught them how to grow drought-resistant crops and how to raise animals that could survive in harsh conditions. She taught them how to work together and how to help each other. She stayed in the village for many months, helping them to rebuild their lives. She became a friend, a teacher, and a leader. She showed them that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. She showed them that even when things seem impossible, anything is possible if you believe in yourself and if you work together. When it was time for Leela to leave, the villagers were sad to see her go. They thanked her for everything she had done for them. They promised to remember her teachings and to continue to help each other. Leela smiled and said goodbye. She knew that she had made a difference in their lives and that her journey was not yet over. She had more villages to visit, more people to help, more wisdom to share. For wisdom isn't just something you gain, it is something you give.